Hello. So, last episode we were talking about WebView2 and how to use it, but then we were also talking about when you have a module that you want to use and the issues that you run into when you're using a module. So, when you're using a module, you would have an issue where you would run into CORS. What the CORS policy is a way of protecting a site from cross injection from another site or from another application that is running the site on the website. But here we have our application that is running a WebView2, and it has inside of the code a module script. And the thing with the module script is that it's calling locally here inside of our code. Why would you want to use a module script? There are certain APIs that require you to use a module, like Three.js, or you want to use Chart.js. And a lot of it would require you to use a module in order to use it inside the HTML. What I have open here is Three.js.org. And as you can see here in the HTML, it would require you to use a module. And you would be able to use this following this documentation on how to use Three.js if you were using a framework like Three.js. So that is why you would want to use a module script for something like that. But how do we get past this error? How do we get past the problem of CORS in our application? What I have here is a project that I've been working on the side just for fun, creating a stock chart that pulls the stock based off of the symbol. This is what that looks like using Chart.js as the front end inside of a module and C# in the back end of the code. Now let's talk about what you have to do to allow your module to run inside of your WebView2 application. What you have to do is create a virtual host. And what this will allow you to do, it'll allow you to bypass the CORS inside of your application. What you need to do is to create a virtual host that will allow you to allow your application through CORS. And let me show you how to do this. Now, in the last episode, we created an asynchronous function that we could use. And the reason why we created this asynchronous function is because we need to use a certain type of function that exists within the WebView controller. This requires you to use an asynchronous function because you have to await the response. What you have to do here is you have to call in your web controller's name and then type in to set the ensure core WebView2 async. And then you're going to then allow that to be called. You have to also put in front of it await. After that, what you're going to do is you're going to call your controller, and then you're going to use .core WebView2. Then you're going to then use the set virtual host name folder mapping. And from here, the first parameter is the host name in which you are going to call your URL. It's kind of like having a DNS within the WebView2. So I'm going to say here it's going to be called example access.access.com. Then afterwards, what you're going to need now is you're going to need the folder path in where the file is located at. Next, you have to put where the files are located, where your HTML is located, in order to access it from the virtual host. I'm going to use environment.current directory, and what that will get is if you are in the debug mode, it'll get the debug folder location where I have my page.html stored. So then from here afterwards, we got to get a core WebView2 host resource access kind. And what this does, this allows you to get rid of CORS and allows you to run your module inside of your HTML page. So once you then type in cores webview2 host resource access kind, then you just type dot allow, and this will allow your code to run through cores. But this isn't the only thing that you have to do. Now at this point, it won't work yet until you move this piece of code right here below the set virtual host name to folder. But that's not all that you have to do. Now at this point, you have to use your host name that you've created and place it in the HTTPS. So when you do HTTPS and then you use the host name that you have created, then what happens is that it allows access through cores. And you got to make sure that you call your HTML file at the end. And once you do that, because remember, we have an alert inside of the module. And once you have this running, then now the alert is calling from inside of the HTML page from the module. And that's how you get past cores in your WebView2 HTML project. And you have an awesome and amazing adventure.